And go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching us right around the world, or as we should be saying, konnichiwa, ohayo gozaimasu. It's time for round 3 of the SRL Project Cars 2 Season 3, this GTE Championship, and after a clean sweep of Long Beach for F1 Rocks, it puts him 22 points ahead of Waffles in the championship. So many questions, so much action already in this season. And it's great to have your company yet again to do it all over again for another week. And before we go any further tonight, it's with great pleasure once again that I welcome my co-commentator, Rob Pearson. Rob Dog, fantastic to have you back for another week. Welcome.
Yeah, it's looking like it's going to be a good race, Trev. We've got the points leader, F1 Rocks. He's 22 points ahead, so that's pretty much... he could probably retire from this race and still be 2 or 3 points ahead in the points. But I was watching the practice last night. I was actually joining the boys for a bit of practice around here, and that cars are looking too flash around here. So it's going to be interesting to see if F1 Rocks can maintain that race gap between he and Waffles tonight.
Going to be interesting. That's right, a perfect start to the season, like we mentioned, for Jono, aka F1 Rocks. But a new round. A fresh start for everybody, and like we said, that gap in the championship already stretching out. It's 22 points in the Drivers' Championship, 3 from 3 so far this season, and it's also the Shake and Bake boys on top of the Constructors' Championship as well. But it's good to first of all, have my voice back, and it's good to have everyone's company back this week. Quick mention, Rob, before we go any further in tonight's broadcast. Just a quick update for Tier 2, qualifying for Tier 2, that is, in this championship. It's Ned, Tooley in second, Ned in pole, Tooley in second, Compact in third, Def Dude fourth, and John in fifth, and someone else in sixth place. I think it is, Rob, but fantastic stuff. Big thank you. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I think he's telling us to die. That's not very nice there, Nemo.
I tell you what, well, speaking of Nemo, it's about time that we just make this announcement, Rob. Huge announcement. He did it last week on the live stream. Just trying to get the focus back onto Nemo, and not on us, of course, and everyone who was watching the stream. He has left, and Smokey has come in. Replacement, that's right. Smokey has come in for him. Nemo is now the Tier 2 coordinator, and will be putting the quali and race results in the live stream like we just mentioned. So I'm not sure what goodbye and farewell is in Newzealander, but anyway, it's not about that, Rob. It's about this track tonight, based off a fictional version of Suzuka.
Yeah, it's well, it is Suzuka, but it isn't. It's missing 2 corners from the actual circuit, but we'll rename those corners after some legends of SRL tonight, so we'll see how it goes. But this is one of those circuits that you get on those ripple strips and the car's all loaded up, and it tends to send it sideways, so it's going to be a fun one to watch to see if anybody's got the big old family jewels to push the car to that point and get it sideways for us. But it's going to be good. It's going to be a good race. Qualifying's up, so we'll see what those times are looking like. I think the fastest time we've had around here is a 1:38.9, I believe. So we'll expect that to drop pretty quick. I mean, this is a 15-minute quali session, so it's going to be a bit of a long one. So we'll give those guys a little bit of time to just get that last little bit of setup done, and hopefully go for that all-elusive track record.
That's right, 15-minute qualifying session, also 15 turns on this track. Quick mention as we see Fubbles out on the track, just getting some heat into those tyres there. Like we said, a fictional version of the legendary Suzuka Grand Prix circuit. Tonight's race, 21 laps, not a super sprint round. It'll be the first ever race too, Rob, for SRL at Sakitto, but of course not our first trip to Japan. And in fact, it was Nige Guns who, back in Season 1, who won his first race at Sugo, also another Japanese circuit. Kart Dude, we welcome him back this week. He was missing last week. And Rob, he'll be looking to get back into the winner's circle this week.
Well, as I mentioned in the first stream that we did, the old Cardi is the points lead, the champion from last season. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can keep going. I mean, we know how quick he is. He didn't win a championship for no reason, but having that week out, you know, missing that race does play with you a little bit. I mean, he was doing some actual racing with his karts, but yeah, it's going to see if he can get back onto the pace with these other guys. I think he probably will. From practice last night, he looked really, really good. So we're going to see if he can pull in that points gap to Waffles, and then hopefully F1 rocks.
Yep, no doubt about that. It's going to be interesting. Always difficult, like we said, Rob. You know, you spend a bit of time away from the wheel, and you know, you spend a lot of time away from these racing games. It can be difficult to just jump back in and be instantly on the pace. But well, I tell you what, as Fubble starts his hot lap, like we said, 15 corners at this circuit, 18 down from 18, I should say, on the original layout of Suzuka, of course. So you'll notice the absence of the hairpin, the Casio triangle, the modified S's section, and a road pass through, which of course is replacing the Ferris wheel location, but still, well, 90, you might say 90-95% based off the old Suzuka circuit. We see the run up the hill here, Rob. Still a very challenging course.
Yeah, it certainly is a challenging course. We're just riding on Bubbles here, and from this first lap he's doing, first flying lap, he looks a little bit reserved. He's gone over the lines there. He's probably going to pick up a slowed end penalty, but yeah, it's pretty much Suzuka. There's not much I can say about the circuit. I haven't raced it much myself, but it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle it. It is very slippy from what I found last night with the Porsche around here, so it's going to be up to those guys to figure out what's the quickest way around here. We already know that guys are doing 38s, so it'll be interesting to see if they can bring those times down even by a couple of tenths, because a tenth around here is probably going to be the difference between pole and probably fifth.
Now, just mentioning, we've got some qualifying notes there, like you mentioned, Rob. Just fantastic work. Qualifying notes from Jason Wilkinson. Predicted pole time, like we said, low 38s. We're looking at the Corvette, very slippery, and it is quicker in qualifying trim. Also, too, hard tyres working well at this circuit, even for quali. We've got an ambient temperature of 30 degrees. Track temperature, we're looking about 40 degrees. The clear weather for the race and quali. So, well, it tends to happen in Japan, doesn't it, Rob? You can get the odd shower or two, but the weather looking very nice for tonight. And you don't want to be caught out behind another driver, because as always, Rob, dirty air can affect your lap here.
Yeah, dirty air is a big problem around here because it's a very fast circuit. So you've got those really high-speed corners, and the car in front's generating a lot of downforce. So your car sitting behind that other car loses, I think, something like 5 to 10% of downforce with these cars, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're trying to be on a qualifying lap where you're chasing somebody in the race, it does have a big effect, and that can play into the issue of tyre wear around here, which you mentioned that it's going to be a bit hotter around here tonight. So hard tyres are probably the way to go. Soft tyres are still quicker, but the softs seem to wear, I think, by a proportionate amount around here. I think something like 15% within the first 3 laps, those soft tyres go off from the hards. So it'll be interesting to see who's running what with the tyres tonight, and that's probably going to be a big key factor into what's going to happen tonight.
No doubt about that, as we see Formula One rocks now in the Ford. And tell you what, talking about low 38s, speak of the devil, and have a look at that. We were talking about Kart Dude back this week, and he's just gone and set a 1:38.3, a stunning lap. As look at that, taking, I guess that's the 130R, a revised version of the 130R, absolutely flat out from Kart Dude. And he comes around the last corner now. Look at that, he's taking no prisoners on this hot lap. Can he go quicker than a 1:38.3? We'll find out in just a moment. As, yes, he does. A 1:38.256 for Kart Dude, Rob.
Well, we have mentioned that in the previous races that those Corvettes are very, very quick on a one-lap qualifying run. So I'm not surprised by it, but you see Sakitto going through 130R there. He's using all the road. It's very Lowndes-esque. You know, how Lowndes just uses every bit of the road just to get those extra couple of tenths out of the car. And I mean, Cardi is a very ballsy driver, so he's gonna really try and pull every little bit out of the circuit in that car. But as we said, the Fords are very quick during the race, so that gap will close up. But those Corvettes, I think they're sitting 1, 2, 3 at the moment, so it's looking like a Corvette front row lockout.
No doubt. Here we go, HSV as well. Look at those. Look at the times there. The top three, the top four, in fact, separated by just half a second. HSV with a 138.579. Nige Guns, the man on your screen, has set a 138.680. 7 minutes remaining in this qualifying session as Nige Guns he manages to keep it all pointing in the right direction here. Flat out, look at this, out of the last corner, over the start-finish line. Can he take provisional pole position and improve on his time? No, a 138.579. And he must have had a bit of traffic there early on in the lap, but here we go. Nemo now, just on the live stream, saying who knows, he could be back next week. Once again, he's trying to take the limelight, but here comes Fubbles now, currently sitting in P4. And hasn't he done quite nicely there, 138.758. We've got about 6 or 7 cars currently in the pit lane, but they'll be getting ready as the track temperature rises. They'll be ready to have another go in this qualifying session. The comments, don't forget to get them in on the live stream. We love listening to you're listening to us. We love reading your comments on the live stream. Righty saying chuck the speedo up. The people loving the speedo there. As here comes Truss. How good has this man been, Rob, in the opening couple of rounds? Come from Tier 2, and boy, hasn't he made his presence felt in this new season.
Yeah, he's doing a really good job. He's on pace. He was on pace in Tier 2 immediately, and I mean, he's only 0.095 away from Car Dude, so that he's going to have a lot of pace to tuck up behind Car Dude through the race. That's if he can improve his time. But gee, he's a very, very, very impressive driver, and I'm glad he's come up from Tier 2 because he's already given us action through those 2 sprint rounds at Long Beach Street.
Yes, here he comes. And he's given us plenty of entertainment. Who could forget that stunning start in race 2 last week, and that epic battle as well we saw between the first 3 or 4 drivers. And Nemo just saying in the future he's going to make a comeback. Not now, but thanks, Nemo. As we ride on board now with Truss.
Oh, perfect. Absolutely perfect. That car's set up really well. It's got plenty of downforce to get through. Then he was flat all the way through 130R going through Nemo corner. And I think it might be up on this one.
Nemo corner, here he comes, and across the line. Oh, I tell you what, 0.63 off of Car Dude. So Car Dude's still sitting pretty there on provisional pole position with that 138.2. As you may have already noticed, everybody out there listening to this broadcast, we've elected, given that it's a fictional version of the Suzuka circuit, we've decided to go with our own corner names. So we've got Nemo corner. We'll have to make up some other corner names, maybe the Mr. Miyagi-S's, Sushi Way. We will think them up, and well, we see on the forum, Rob, there's a bit of a warning there for all our viewers tonight, just to say, just beware when they tune into the live stream tonight for some cracking Japanese jokes. We've offended the Americans, we've offended a few other countries around the world. What do you call a Japanese woman with one leg? Irene. That's just not that funny, is it? But 4 minutes to go in this qualifying session. I'll let you get a needle and cotton and stitch your sides back together, Rob.
Yeah, mate, that was a perfect dad joke there. You've certainly been practicing those, and I've been practicing those for the last 10 years, which is pretty bad. I mean, I've only been a father for 6 months, but there will be some cracking Japanese jokes, and I hope we can really add to the list of people we've offended. I think we've offended Americans, Kiwis. I think I offended truck drivers last night, and we offended ISIS. So we can certainly add one more to the list tonight.
Yes, I'll make sure those doors are locked. I'll double check all those. But speaking of New Zealanders, here comes Mighty Murph 51. And where's he sitting on the times now? Oh, he looks like he's got a penalty there, but beautiful entry and exit. Oh, and the commentator's curse striking awfully quickly there. He's 8/10 down with a 1:39.122. As we take a look at the new boy, here comes Smokey, replacing Nemo in this Tier 1 championship. And just the comments coming in on the live stream. Lawrence saying this game is sexy. Ah, yes, much better than GT Sport. Oh, we don't want to offend the Japanese, do we? It might already be too late though, Rob.
I think it's already too late, and that's not the only thing that's sexy. I've seen pictures of Trev, and boy, he is stunning.
No arguments with that one, and I'm sure... Geez, I better be careful what I say here, but this is very interesting, and let's just see what Smokey can do. Currently 1 second down. And
that was a lot of pace through there.
Don't they look beautiful, especially those Corvettes, like we said, very slippery in a straight line. Smokey currently in P7, and I reckon he might be just starting a hot lap now. Some other interesting key points to remember, of course. Look for flashing lights before the pit lane. That's to give everybody, including us up here in the commentary box, a bit of a warning, Rob, that the drivers are going to pit, and the undercut also should work very well around this track if you can get into clear air.
Yeah, well, I mean, we've been talking about the undercut for the last couple of streams, and every time I've mentioned that the undercut is probably the quicker way, it's always the overcut. So hopefully we're right tonight, but I don't know. From the last 3 races, it's been up in the air what's going to work in the pit stops. And don't forget that there will be some guys out there running the soft tyres, trying to get that little bit of pace out, but those soft tyres wear pretty quick. So will they have to come in for a pit stop to actually change those tyres, or will it be a stop and go? That's a big question over tonight's race. Just under, well, a minute and a half remaining in this qualifying session. Can anybody beat a 1:38.2? Can V8 man, can Formula One Rocks? Look at that speed. And we might just get that. Can we get that speedo up there just to see the speeds that these cars are doing around there? Thank you. Right on cue. Timing impeccable. 4th gear up into 5th. And look at that. 230 kilometres per hour. Formula One Rocks. That's right. Looking at the results this season. 3 starts, 3 wins. The man who was unbeatable continued his unbeaten run at Long Beach last week. Can he start a new legacy, a new chapter for his SRL career here at Sakitto in Japan, coming through the 130R? I'm guessing we're going to keep calling it that, but look at that. There's a good shot for Womp too. Fantastic stuff as the cars come through there. The sun setting here in the land of the rising sun. That didn't really make a lot of sense, kid buyers, but here comes Formula One Rocks across the line. Can he beat Kart Dude? What's his time going to be? He's off the pace by a massive margin there, Trevor. You saw where he come through Tortoise. That's what we're going to call that corner, the fast right-hander going through Tortoise. The car seemed to get airborne, and you saw the front sort of wiggle and then point straight going to when it's meant to be turning right. So I think that's a big problem with the Fords around here, is it seems to get that front end wants to lift off the ground around there especially. So that's something those Ford boys are going to really struggle with tonight. But I mean, anything can happen, and I know those Fords are very, very quick in the race, Trev. Well, this is incredible stuff, isn't it, for tonight's race? Formula One Rocks, and we saw him go off at turn 1 there, so he didn't get another chance at it. So he will start, barring any other times, well, if anyone can knock him out of, displace him from P10, he will start P10 at least. So that's a bit of a turn up for the books. I was going to say a comeback drive, but it's going to be interesting to see him come through the field. As here comes Fubbles, a man who's been a little bit off so far this season. Finished 4th in race 1 last week. That's his best finish for the season. 16 points in this Drivers' Championship. He comes across the line, and it'll just be a 1:38.7. Not too bad. 4/10 off the pace. They are so close in this qualifying session. But as you can see on your screen, qualifying is complete. And Waffles, there's, most of the drivers in the pit lane, but Waffles still on a hot lap. Mr. Consistency, 2 third places and a 4th so far this season. P2 in the Drivers' Championship, 22 point.
Wow.
And it's a
And,
good... well,
we're
it's...
back with the long one, Trev.
Wow, that is quite incredible. I saw something like that in that F3 race at Macau the other week, but that was wow, that was Waffles and Bits Airways, wasn't it? And there's a little bit of, and I tell you what, Mickey, that's we might have to throw a red flag for this one, because that's just that's just completely stuffed Mickey's hot lap if he was on one. But there we go, the final results then for qualifying. Well, Kart Dude straight back into it, a week off. It's done him some good, a 138.2. Kart Dude on pole position for tonight's race. Then it's Truss continuing his good form so far in this season, a 138.3. P2 for him. Nige Guns in P3. HSV in P4. Then it's Fubbles in P5. Jason Wilkinson in P6, Smokey in P7, as we continue to go down the order. Mighty Murph in P8. He's not going to be too happy about that. The quickest of the New Zealand drivers. And then it's Righty in P9. Formula One rocks. There's a turn up for the books, Rob, in P10 ahead of Waffles and Bits, who, tell you what, just went flying on that last lap. Then it's V8, man. Oh, boy. The missus is not going to be happy with P12 down there. Then it's Mickey, You're So Fine in 13th. Womp in 14th. And that rounds out our order. What a race we're in for here tonight, Rob.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those races. I mean, the top 6 was locked out by all those Corvettes. The only car that's in the top 8 for the Fords is, I think, in 7th. With 6th with Jace there, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with the points, especially if Cardi wins. It's going to Formula One Rocks needs to think about what's going to happen here for his championship. I mean, he's sitting in P10 there. I mean, if he loses one position, he's out of the points. So Kart Dude and Waffles, if he can get past Formula One Rocks, can probably scrape back some points from F1 there.
So Kart Dude on pole position, Truss alongside him, got Nige Guns for company. Then it's HSV, the big New South Welshman, in P4, who's going to be right behind Truss. The slipstream down into turn 1 is very real, folks, so keep an eye out for that. You're going to have to be a brave man to make a move through there. But what is going through their mind? Kart Dude and Truss on the front row of the grid, staring down into turn 1. What is going through their mind? Will everyone be able to get a clean start all the way down to Womp in P14? Jace, like we mentioned, in P6. What can he do? Fubbles as well. Smokey, the new boy, replacing the Kiwi Nemo. So many questions to be answered here tonight. 21 laps of Sakitto here in Japan. And we won't give you any more jokes at this stage, but it's a long race, 21 laps. You never quite know what you're going to get, like the box of chocolates out of Forrest Gump. And some of these jokes are not quite appropriate for the stream. But anyway, it's going to be a terrific race here tonight. The tension, the drama. I'm on the edge of my seat already, Robin. We haven't even had the start.
Yeah, I mean, the start's only... Here we go. The start's about to start, I guess.
Here we go. Live and exclusive here, 21 laps, round 3 of SRL. We are ready to go. Racing there. Nige Gun's got a bad start off the line, but it's Kart Dude and Truss side by side. There, Truss slots into P2. Is he going to make a move on Kart Dude into turn 1? No, he's not. HSV jumps. Nige Gun's off the start and takes P3. Fubbles has him for company, but it's Kart Dude out in front. Somebody off there. Mighty Murph. And let me tell you, Mighty Murph in P9, but look at that, bits and pieces flying everywhere. They've managed to, well, most of them have managed to get away cleanly up the hill here on lap 1. So it's Kart Dude, Truss, Nige Guns. Jason, what a start for him, up to P4 from P6. A terrific start for our man Wilco, but it's Kart Dude maintaining the lead early on lap 1.
Yeah, Cardi got that first initial phase of his start there, Trev. It didn't seem to be as clean as Truss. Truss did get beside him there for a couple of moments. So I thought Truss was going to make a move down into the first turn there, but I mean, he was too far back. There's no use bidding it on the first lap. You know, we've got 21 laps to go. The cars are heavy. You don't want to get any damage on the car. You don't want to ruin the tyres just yet. So I mean, it's a very, very long race, and I think Truss will have a look at Cardi. I mean, we saw from last week, Truss is a very good, fair, clean racer. I mean, those last laps he did with Sub GT last week was brilliant, but Yeah, oh, there we go. We got Cardi off the road there. He's just a little bit too committed going through that corner. And the cars are very heavy with fuel at the moment. The tyres aren't up to pressure, and I think Trust's going to get into that slipstream and have a look into the first turn trip.
Oh, here we go, the slipstream. We mentioned, didn't we, before the start? He couldn't get him on lap 1. They're side by side here on lap 2. Is he going to go around the outside? He is! What a move from Truss! Oh my goodness, he just had the slipstream heading across the start-finish straight, and he went around the outside. What a move! What a season this man is having, the new boy. But now Kart Dude has to ease off going around the S's. I think he wasn't going to get through there, but he looked to have a go. And that Corvette very, very slippery on the straight. Jason saying, remember to have the speedo up for the race, Rob. Thank you, Wilco. Rick Elliott, did I miss anything? Big hello to you, Rick, one of our viewers from last week. This is a fantastic race. You haven't missed any of the action so far. Have a look at this, but what a move by Truss heading into turn 1, Rob.
I think Cardi's having a look to have a move up to Spoon Curve here. You can see he's all over the back of Truss, getting into his mirrors. He's gone on the left-hand side of the road here. We know Cardi is one of the last late breakers, so I mean, he didn't make the move there, but you can certainly see that Cardi wants that position back, and that car is really, really well set up for following another car, which is interesting because it seems like the Corvettes, they don't have as much aero loss behind another car, so it'll be interesting to see what they can do, and also what the boys at the Fords can do, because we know they have aero loss. I mean, it's significant with the Fords, so can they claw the way up through the field? It's going to be interesting to see what F1 does. He's not coming up on my list here. I can't find him. Oh, Formula Rocks is actually in 4th position, so he's actually made 6 spots within 2 laps. That's incredible work from our championship leader troop.
And how ironic is this? Formula One Rock started P10, now is up to P4, and the man that started P4 is now in P10. I'm not sure what happened to HSV there, but he's currently down in P10. But Formula One Rocks, you can't keep a good man down. Had a bad qualifying session, started, like we said, from P10, currently up into P4 and only 2 seconds off of Kart Dude, who is now down in P3. Truss has taken the lead. Very close. Look at those fastest laps too there. Your top 2 there with a 140.349 and a 140.306 respectively. It's a long race, so you don't want to take too many risks in this one, but only 8/10 separate the top 2 at the moment. But it's this man, Formula One Rocks, currently on your picture. Look at that 4th gear around the long sweeping corner now, heading down the hill up towards the Spoon Curve. 230 kilometers per hour up to 6th gear, down into 3rd. Just getting a good entry and a nice exit out of these 2 corners through the Spoon Curve onto the main straight now. The long back straight, lap 3. And boy, I tell you what, it won't be too long before he'll be just coming up to Kart Dude and saying, hello, I'm here, let's go and play. But he's also got Jason for company, and Jason now up to P5 as well.
Yeah, Jason's made up a spot there, and that's going to be good for his confidence. I mean, he's had a couple of shocking races, and we've only had 3 races this season, so it'll be good for him in his confidence. And I know he's very, very quick. He is tucked up behind Formula One Rocks, but yeah, good for Jason's confidence. See what he can do. He has to make up a lot of points though to have any chance in this championship at this point, though.
So it's interesting stuff here, like we said. A very hectic, as they always are, aren't they? A very hectic opening few laps, but most people managing to get away cleanly. Now the field spreading out. Interesting questions about strategy, like we said. We say it every week. Will the undercut work? Or the overcut, for that matter? Kart Dude then. We didn't see it on our screens on the stream, but he must have had a slide off. We did see him go wide. I think through the 130R there on lap 1 or 2, and that got Truss very interested. But now that gap out front is 1.1 second back to Nige Guns, who's just slotted nicely into P2. But there we go. First, second, third, separated by just 1.5 seconds. And you can never count out Kart Dude, that's for sure. And that gap now, Formula One Rocks not making too many more inroads than on the top 3. That gap, a steady 3 seconds. Jason's fallen a bit further behind him. Mighty Murph in P6, a couple of drivers with penalties. Mighty Murph being one of them, Womp and Fubbles the other. And HSV's dropped down to P11 now, behind Righty and Waffles. V8 man, P8, we haven't called his name much this season. And there he is, HSV, the man on your picture. And got involved in an incident off camera, which we didn't see, but he started P4, like we mentioned. And currently they're chasing down Righty for the final points-paying position, and he's off again.
Spin.
Well, there's a spin there. Was there contact there, Rob?
No, as I said earlier in the stream, those curves, you just get a little bit onto those curves, and of course, when you get onto those curves, the car's all weighted up on the left-hand side, so you're trusting the car an immense amount to stick to those curves. But I've noticed around here, just doing some laps with the boys last night, you can't. I mean, it's impossible to trust those curves. They've got to spin you around probably 95% of the time, especially with a heavy fuel load as well. With a little bit of fuel taking out, it's not too bad. You can sort of stick it through there, but you've got to have so much trust. But early on in the race, and I'm pretty sure majority of the guys tonight will be running hard tyres, and they're a little bit less grippy as well, so that's not going to help the situation with those curves there. But as we saw earlier, Kart Dude on the first lap, he got onto that curving through 130R, and you saw the car going out right onto the right-hand side of the circuit. They're probably getting him a time penalty, and it really messes with your mind, because you can't feel like you can trust the car as much as you should.
Well, I tell you what, very strict as well. If you run a little bit wide on this track, as with most circuits in Project Cars 2, you get slow down penalties where a driver can lose about 5 seconds or so due to how strict the corner cuts are in this game. And that keeps every driver on their toes in both qualifying and the race. As we see Kartu then currently in P3. He was very close to Nige Guns about a lap or two ago, but that gap is now just extended out. The front two guys, they're into the 139s, looking very, very quick indeed. I reckon Nige Guns is just looking after those tyres, just waiting to see what Truss is going to do in P1 in terms of strategy. But Truss looking very comfortable there in P1. Looking very comfortable indeed for a new boy, isn't he, Rob? He's just come into this series and absolutely torn it to shreds so far. And the opening couple of rounds, he's done so well, hasn't he? He got P2, a couple of DNFs in there too, but he's shown so much pace, and it just shows you how strong these leagues are, that someone can come in and be as quick as that.
Yeah, I mean, I really like Truss. He's got a very good racing craft mind. When I say that, you know, he knows when to push the car, he knows when to look after it. And it seems to me that Nige Guns and Truss are just sitting back at the moment and letting the tyres have a bit of a rest. And, I mean, you can see Cardi just cruising up to the back of Nige Guns there. I mean, Cardi's really pushing that car so hard. I mean, look at him. He's just got on that curbing. That's what I said about that curbing. You get on that curbing, it's very slippy, and you can really lose some time there. I mean, he's lost about 2 seconds off of the back of Nige Guns there, which he was looking like he was going to go for the pass and drop the bomb once. And if Nige Guns came back, he probably would have dropped it twice. But the tyres are playing a big part here. I think Cardi's pushing really, really hard, and I think if he keeps doing that, there's going to be a possibility that if he doesn't change his tyres at a pit stop, he's going to drop back to Formula 1 Rocks. And we know how good Formula 1 Rocks is, just conserving the car and looking after those tyres, Stu.
He is an absolute master when it comes to looking after the car. You said that, Rob, and looking after the car, the tyres, the strategy. Very cunning. A little bit of Mr. Miyagi about him, wax on, wax off. Another Japanese reference there, but he's so good, isn't he? He's just 6 seconds off the lead. He wouldn't be worried about that one little bit. Like we mentioned, a perfect run. 3 from 3 as we ride on board with the great Jono Miyagi himself. Coming up the hill now, lap 7 out of 21. As you can see, the sun setting over the top of the hill there. A beautiful circuit, this one. We've mentioned it a few times. You can see the Ferris wheel in the background there, based off the traditional Suzuka circuit in Japan. One of the best circuits, one of the most famous circuits in Formula 1. Plenty of history as well. There's a bit of debris there on the circuit, not affecting Jono too much. And like we said, coming through to the Spoon Curve, a long flowing circuit, very different from last week in Long Beach. As part of the Super Sprint rounds, 2 races there, of course, on the streets of Long Beach. And I tell you what, it's going to be interesting. Nige Guns has a bit of a penalty there. You can get slow down penalties if you run wide at this circuit. But Cart Dude, I tell you what, Rob, very famous Japanese proverb, if you run wide, you will go off. And Cart Dude, just no need to really do that, is there? We mentioned it's a long race, and there's plenty of opportunities. No need for Cart Dude to push that hard.
Yeah, I mean, there's no need to push that hard. I mean, we keep mentioning he's a real racer in real life, so he knows when to push hard and when not to. And I think he knows he's overdone it at this point. So he's just going to sit back behind Nige Guns. He's got 4 seconds to make up. So I think he's thinking maybe, you know, if Nige Guns cruises up to the back of Trust there's going to be a bit of battle. And when you get into a battle, you do tend to lose time to the guys behind. So I think Cardi's thinking about that, you know, with his racecraft. You know, I think I've got a chance here. Let me just conserve the tyres a little bit, conserve the car. Let's not do anything too rash. Let's try and get through this race and maybe make start making moves in the last 7 to 8 laps to go there, Trev.
Well, this is the point of the race where we start to think about pit stop strategy in this race. I'll tell you, it's interesting because we've got accelerated tyre wear, only performance impacting damage. But the pit stops are going to be very interesting. Like we said, if you see the cars flashing their lights, that will indicate that they are coming into the pits. Bit of an interesting stat. We love our trivia on the live streams, don't we? This circuit, well, the Suzuka version of this circuit first appeared back on the Super Nintendo back in 1993. Oh boy, I don't want to say too much more, otherwise I'll be showing my age in the Suzuka 8 Hours game. Very interesting. Now, oh my goodness, straight off the track. What happened to Nige Guns there? He's just gone straight off, and someone else has gone off as well.
I think that's Jace that's gone off as well, or it's I have no idea. I should have done my homework through the week to learn the cars, but they both come in for a pit stop. That's probably a good choice, to be honest. It was Jace that went off there, and as I said, those curves are slippy, so you've got to be really, really trusting of the cars on those curves. And I thought the way that Nigel's car was set up, going through 130R, he was trusting that curve on the going through the right-hand bit, 130R, and the car seemed to really respond well to what he was doing, but I guess not through, going through Spoon. It just didn't seem very comfortable going through 130R that lap around. And I mean, that's what happens with tyre wear, Trev. Once those tyres get down, a little bit of wear on them, the car changes quite a bit. And also, I think we're running accelerated wear as well. So those tyres wear a lot quicker than they usually do. And it'll be interesting now to see if either Nige Guns, you can see he's got a bit of damage on his car when we're sitting on him through the pits. If he's going to think about maybe changing tyres to the soft tyres. We know the softs are a lot quicker around here. And I'm pretty sure at this point the soft tyres will last to the end of the race, but we don't know. And we've got Smokey having a spin there as well, the new boy from Tier 2, Trev.
Well, the new boy is off, and wow, we mentioned about the tyre wear being accelerated, but it is a very, very slippery track as we keep an eye on Cartu now, currently up into P2, but Nige Guns giving Two Guns Racing, his pit crew, plenty of work to do there. That car having all sorts of damage. And we saw Jason there also going off. I almost thought there was some debris on the track or something, just with the way that both drivers just went off almost at full speed. But Jace also not quite as much work for Team Victoria Bitter. But still, both coming into the pits. And I reckon Jace might have been a little bit held up maybe by Nige Guns coming in. But really the best decision there, get into the pits, get your pit stop out of the way, and then try and recover later in the race. We'll just recap now, Cartoon on your screen, up into P2. Half the race gone now, half still to go, as the great Murray Walker used to always say, and it's Truss leading from Cartoon, the man on your screen, ahead of Formula One Rocks, the crafty Mr. Miyagi man that he is. Oh, wax on the wax off, currently up into P3, ahead of Mighty Murph, who has a penalty, who's a long way ahead of V8 Man, who's been nice and quiet down there in P5. Jason up into P6, 50 seconds off the lead. And compared to Nige Guns, he's got out of that pretty well, hasn't he? Jason in P6, Nige Guns in P10, a long way behind Jason, and they both came in at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, Jason hasn't really lost much here. I mean, he qualified 6th, and he's in 6th, and he's gotten his pit stop out of the way. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can make up some positions. I think he'll definitely make up a position on V8 Man. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Mighty Murph comes in. I'm not too sure about what the pit times would be here, but it's going to be very close between Mighty Murph and Jace. But, boy, that's, I think Nige Gun's going to be kicking himself there, Trev.
He will indeed. Big hello to Sub GT on the live stream. Rick Elliott saying, "Go Truss. We trust in you." Oh boy, dad joke warning. But Nemo's been good enough too to give us the Tier 2 race results while we've got a moment. The race results for Tier 2. Ned winning from Thule in second. Third was John Dog. 4 Die for Nads. Then Deaf Dude in fifth. And Compact in sixth. And big thank you to Nemo for the Tier 2 results. And Sub GT, big hello to you as well. As here's Rick's Man. Look at this. Rick's Man HSV. Truss, I should say. Now HSV. He's coming up to around up the hill now. Lap 11. Half the race gone, like we said. All right.
Half to go. But, yeah, it looks like Truss actually has some traffic in front of him there, Trev.
He does, and this is, well, he's 4.3 seconds ahead of Cart Dude. And, well, you don't want to be caught. I reckon he might be all right here. I reckon he's cleared out of the way. And, indeed, he has there. So, Truss having no issues. And he says, okay, I've passed him now. It's your problem. Over to you, Cart Dude. And keep up the commentary. Good commentary, ladies. All right, settle down there, Sub GT. Otherwise, we may not read those comments out if he keeps up that sort of form. But, so Truss, when is he going to make his stop? He goes past the pit lane, a 140.1, fraction slower than Cart Dude with a 140 flat. And, well, I tell you what, Formula One rocks, they're up into P2. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. That's a good recovery from Formula One rocks. And Cardi's come in for a pit stop, and I think that's probably smart. With the way the field is spread out at the moment, Trev, I think Cardi's going to come out in some fresh air. And I mean, I've said it so many times in the last couple of streams that hopefully the undercut works. I'm not going to say it will, but that clear air is going to help Cardi. We know how quick he is, and he was making time up on Truss as well. So I think it's going to be a bit of a flourish at the end of the race here, Trev.
Oh, I tell you what, I'm getting extremely nervous here, and I'm sure all 15 people, we love each and every one of you, you beautiful people out there watching the live stream. Interesting. What is going to happen? Cart Dude biting the bullet and coming into the pits. HSV, 5 drivers, 6 drivers down with penalties. Is that going to play a factor at the end of this race? As Big Al says, at least Jason is holding his own tonight. Oh, I reckon that's praise from Big Shep. But indeed, he is. He's going all right, still in P6 as we take a look now at Mighty Murph, who I don't reckon, has he made his pit stop, Murph? He's up into P3, 17 seconds off the leader, lap 12 out of 21.
Yeah, I don't think he's made his pit stop yet, but I think he'll come back towards Cardi, as I said earlier, when Cardi did his pit stop. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out, but I think this probably would be his best result so far from the season that's gone by. But that's history, of course. We're going through the field here. I think V8 Man, I think he's looking okay. Cardi's going to come up behind him and certainly give him a bit of hassle. Jace, well, he's having the best race out of his life so far this current season. And of course, I think Big Alan there will be having a couple of BBs for Jace tonight with this result so far. Of course, Jace, I think, is going to pick up a position from a couple of pit stopping guys, so he's going to probably end up in either 4th or 5th. And we still have, so this field's going to work its way out, but it's going to be interesting to see what Formula One Rocks and Truss do. Truss still has that pit stop to go, and we see him coming up to some more lap traffic, another Porsche in Truss's way. That's always annoying, but thankfully that Porsche sort of half spun out of the way of Truss's path there, but I think this is going to look like a good finish tonight, Trev.
That's right, 8 laps to go until the end of this one. Truss, the man on your screen, leading this race. We mentioned yet to make a pit stop. 6.2 seconds, that gap, steady back to Formula One Rocks. and so much love in the comments. 20 people watching us. Oh, yes. How good is this? Where would you rather be on a Thursday night? Big L, Sub GT, Sprint Cars, Kiwis and Kangaroos. So much love in this stream for Jason Wilkinson. I want to have Jason's babies. Oh, wow, that's very serious. Straight to third base there. Quick fun fact too tonight. We love our fun facts here on the SRL stream. Tier 2 had 4 winners from 4 races. Enough about that, because here comes Formula 1 Rocks for his pit stop. Where is he going to feed out? Rob Pearson.
Well, that's going to be interesting there, Trev. I mean, he's taken that early pit stop and Truss hasn't stopped yet, but Formula Rocks looks like he's really closing a gap to Truss there. So that Ford is still a lot better than those Corvettes and race pace. We see those Corvettes, when those tyres get a little bit worn, they tend to be a little bit more slippery, a little bit more uncontrollable at the rear end, but those Fords seem to be looking after the tyres, and you can see there was no tyres put on there for Formula Rocks, so he feels very comfortable with what he's got on at the moment. And Truss has to be thinking about what he's got to do at this point. Is he going to come in now? Is he going to come in towards maybe the last couple of laps of the race? That's the big question we've got at the moment.
Still on the pace, though, is Truss 1984. That last lap, a 1:39.999. No, I'm not German. That is the lap time, just a tick under 1:40. So he's still setting pretty good lap times so far. You mentioned he's going to be asking himself that question. When is he coming into the pits? Surely those tyres, lap 14, they've done a few laps now. They've got to be getting worn, you'd reckon. As he comes around the 130R, I'll never get tired of seeing that yellow Corvette fly through there. And a few other boys have flown through that one facing the wrong direction. But anyway, it's caught a few people out tonight. And he still goes past the pit lane. Formula 1 Rocks, 40 seconds off the lead. Mighty Murph there currently in P2. And my goodness me, over 20 people watching this stream tonight. Whether you're from Tasmania or Tanzania, it's great to have your company with us here tonight. And this man, the New Zealander from New Zealand, of all places, surprise, surprise, through to complete lap 14 now. Mighty Murphy's looking good, isn't he? He's got a penalty there at some stage, but still setting mid 140 laps. So he's still showing pretty good pace, but the countdown is on. The sun setting here at Sakitto in Japan for round 3. And V8 man, what's he been able to do? Currently in P5, quietly going about his business. No penalties, 46 seconds off the lead. And he's coming into the pits now. I wonder where he's going to feed out in this race.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where V8 man feeds in. I think he's going to drop back to Nige Guns there. So Nige Guns is going to pick up a position and claw some points back. He was running first, he was running second, he was running third, and now he's running 8th after that pit stop when he crashed at 130R. But, I mean, points are points, Trev. Every point counts. It's just like that Monty Python sketch. Every point is useful. But, I mean, looking through the field here, I mean, Formula Rocks is probably the biggest mover and shaker in this race. He started P10, he's up into 3rd. He's done his pit stop, so he's looking to get that position of trust there. But our man Waffle sitting 2nd in the points at the moment, back at P10, Trev.
P10, he's finished 3rd and 4th in the opening 3 races of this season. And currently in P10, well, talk about a bit of a fall from grace. He hasn't had a good race. Maybe just not suiting him this circuit. Some drivers tend to take to different tracks and not to some others. But the battle in this race is going to be that one at the front, isn't it? 37 seconds. Truss still got to make his pit stop like we keep saying. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be mighty, mighty close, I can tell you that. The last 7 laps of this race are going to be epic. Make that 6 laps now, but don't go anywhere. We're in for a bit of a ding-dong battle, I think, at the end. As Waffles, he's 20 seconds behind V8 Man in P8. And HSV a long way behind him in P10. Fubbles in P11. And Mickey, you're so fine. Not so fine that you're blowing my mind, though. Out of the points in P12. And here he is, 18 seconds ahead of Mighty Murph. Is it going to be this lap? It's going to have to be soon. He's running out of laps. When will he pit? And indeed, look at that. Formula 1 Rocks now on fresh rubber. We talk about the undercut, 36.5 seconds for Truss. Is it going to be enough time to slow down, come into the pits, make a stop, and come back out again? Probably not a circuit where you're going to lose too much time here as he comes through. Is it going to be this lap, or is he going to keep going past the pit lane and on his way?
Straight through Tortoise there. I mean, that's interesting as well, because I've been watching the timing here, Trev, and Formula One Rocks, that gap between he and Truss, it's ebbing and flowing, but Formula One Rocks seems to be making a little bit of time on Truss there. He came out of the pits with 39 seconds between them, and he's made up about 2 seconds, so he's got 2 seconds to go to be at least to door with Truss here. But boy, I think Truss is playing a bit of a dangerous game at the moment, Trev. I mean, those tyres are getting a little bit more worn. You know, he knows he still has a pit stop to go, but he's managed to keep that car clean. Does he feel more comfortable in that fresh air? Does he feel more comfortable with that car just the way it is at the moment? Because I know from personal experience, when you go into a pit stop and you don't change tyres, you come out and you just feel a little bit different. You know, the car feels a bit different. I mean, it's still the same car, but the pressures are a little bit lower, the brake temperatures have dropped. So I think Formula One Rocks has probably done the right decision, and he's made up that 2 seconds within the first sector there, Trev. So that's going to be interesting to watch. Let's see what Truss does for this lap.
So many questions for that man in the cockpit of that Corvette car. You can see those lap times on your screen. He was 0.6 quicker on that last lap. Formula One Rocks and Kart Dude both were in the 139s a couple of laps ago. And you can see Truss there. He's got to be losing grip, running a little bit wide coming out of the spoon curve. So 140.5 for him last lap. That gap 36 seconds. And has Mighty Murph made his pit stop as well? 36.3.
No, he hasn't. I think what's going to happen here is Mighty Murph is going to either be forced to move aside, or he's going to really think about what he's going to do. I think he probably might come in around about the same time as Truss here. I mean, he's got no choice. He has to pit, otherwise he gets a disqualification. So it's part of the rules of what we do in this league. But far out, I think Formula Rocks might be getting a little bit fed up with Mighty Murph there, because he would be losing grip at this point following him. I mean, it looks like a bit of a gap. The way the aerodynamics work, there's a hole that's being punched ahead of him, and that hole's trying to reform right in front of his car. So he's still losing grip in that off of that front splitter there, Trev.
So is Mighty Murph doing Truss a favour here? And he's a fair way away, maybe just holding station. He's coming in now. So interesting stuff. Mighty Murph coming into the pits, so he's out of the way. I shouldn't say out of the way. That's a little bit harsh. As Kart Dude streams through, he's been showing some good pace over the last couple of laps. Up into P3 now. Good result for him. 140.1 on that lap. So, gee, those lap times fairly even with 3 laps to go. Jason P4 currently in the pits there. Mighty Murph, where is he going to come out? And Jason currently in P5. Righty, Nige Guns, V8 man waffles up to P9. And Jason slots into P4. Kart Dude on your screen. And it's going to be close. Nardar in the on the comments there on the live stream saying, has the Degner curves claimed anyone? I don't think they have they, Rob? They've been pretty good through there, pretty well behaved, these cars. And Adelaide Crows are the best says, can you commentate? Adelaide, all right, calm down there. We're talking to a South Australian, the Crow Eaters. He says, can you commentate this? I think this is to me. He says, can you commentate in a funny voice? I think I'm doing that. I pretty much do that anyway, don't I, Rob?
Yeah, Bill Clinton approves this message. I think Formula Rocks is looking a bit under the weather here. He's dropped back 2 seconds there, Trev.
Well, I reckon my normal voice, Adelaide Crows at the best, is probably funny enough. But anyway, I won't go down that Donald Trump. We'll just stay away from the US presidents at this stage, Rob, because we've offended 300 million of them, I think, last week when we were at Long Beach. But anyway, Formula One Rocks then up into P2. But how much has that affected his race? How much has that affected this man's mindset? We said he's a very cool, calm customer. We referred to him as Mr. Miyagi earlier in the race, but that has got to have an effect, you'd have to say, currently in P2. And let me just recap this man, the man on your screen, Jono, Formula One Rocks, Miyagi, currently sitting P1 in this championship. That's right. Ichi, which is 1 in Japanese. He finished P1 at the opening round of the season at Imola. P1 for both races last week. Currently in P2. Is he going to settle for the points? Will Truss go one better than last week? He missed out last week. Formula One Rocks got him last week. Can Truss repay the favour this week for a little bit of redemption? Oh yes, that's right. He's coming in.
Pit stop.
And he's missed the pit lane. He's missed the entry there. Well, he's...
I mean, he's got to be trying to make up time through the pits anyway, but Formula One Rocks, this is going to be very, very close between he and Formula One Rocks. I know Cardi wants to get into that action as well. He's only 4 seconds behind Formula One Rocks at the moment. So, I mean, these three are looking good for a top 3 spot, but, gee, will we see some fireworks when Truss comes out of the pit lane there, Trev?
We are in for an absolute treat. 2 laps to go. The man, the leader on your screen coming into the pits in the Corvette. And keep an eye on this man, Formula One Rocks, speeding through that. Look at that 6th gear, 240 kilometres an hour through the 130R. Onto the start-finish straight. Truss, he's still in the pit lane. It's going to be very close. Here he comes, a little bit of traffic there, but never worry about that. He comes onto the pits. Is he going to get him, Formula One Rocks? I reckon he has. Into the lead.
This is going to be absolutely interesting there, Trev, because we've got 2 laps to go, and we know how quick that Corvette is around here. So can Formula One Rocks keep him behind? Can Truss get those temperatures back up at the brakes quick enough to challenge Formula One Rocks there, Trev?
Well, even worse, he's also got Kart Dude hot on his heels. There's some traffic just getting out of the way there. Might be Waffles, I think, in the 4. But anyway, so have a look at that. A masterful piece of strategy from the master himself. Formula One Rocks, currently in P1. And he did it fairly easily in the end. I thought they were going to be side by side heading into turn 1 as through the Degner curves there. What an incredible piece of strategy. Sub GT says she's all over. Well, what a race we've had here. It was a bit of a slow burner, wasn't it, for everyone watching at home over the 21 laps. Lap 20 now out of 21. That gap is a second now back to Truss. He does have fresh rubber, but that gap now is extending Rob, and I don't think he's going to be able to catch him. In fact, I reckon Kart Dude's going to be interested as well.
I think I was going to say the same thing there, Trev. Cardi's only 7 tenths or so behind Truss here, so I think Truss has made the call way too late. And it's interesting because every time we say the undercut is going to work, it doesn't, and when we say the overcut is going to work, it doesn't. So we can't commentate for absolute crap there, Trev.
Well, undercut, overcut. I reckon Big Alan Shep is already cut, because he says, well done, Jace. Big fan of Wilco, as we know, a lot better tonight. He's already enjoying a frothy, and off goes Kart Dude. Down the inside, Truss, side by side with Kart Dude. This is incredible stuff. Can he take P2? Back again through the long sweeping S's and up the hill now. Last lap of the race. Jono's out front by 2.5 seconds, but look at this battle, the closest battle on the circuit. And the last lap of the race.
He's going to go up towards the Degners here. He's going to be on the outside. He's on the grass, but I think he's going to have a look. I mean, that grass really hampered his progress there. But Truss has the pace. The Cardi's got a bit right there. This is absolute pandemonium. This is the wildest you ever see. He's going to come up to Groning Tortoise corner here, going left. He's going to try and carry the pace. You can see him on the right-hand side there, trying to get as much pace at the car. He's going to get the run up here. I think he's going to get that slipstream. He's going to have a look going up towards the screen curve. It's going to be absolutely... Oh my God, covers the inside. Truss goes on the outside. This is the best racing we've seen all night. And Truss slipped that rear end of the car. That's unbelievable. What's happened there? Is Truss behind him? I can't breathe, Trev.
I'm so excited. I'm standing up. Truss, he's in the Bermuda Triangle. He's disappeared off my screen. I don't know about yours and everyone watching at home. He's completely disappeared off the map. But Formula One Rocks around the last corner, onto the start-finish straight, continues this perfect start to this championship. Across the line, 4 races, 4 wins for Jono. Formula One Rocks taking victory here tonight, ahead of Kart Dude in P2. We're still sending out the search party for Truss. who's gone missing off our timing screens. But Big Shep will be celebrating tonight because here comes your man, Jason Wilkinson, comes across the line in the Ford, lights flashing to take P3 in this race. And his best result of the season. And speaking of best results of the season, here comes Ridey across the line for P4, equaling his best finish of the year. And there's bits and pieces flying everywhere as Mighty Murph, I think he's crossed the line to finish P5. As Nige Guns now on the last lap of the race. Boy, what an epic final lap. And lost connection there. So a few comments there. Take a breath. Rick just giving Rob some advice there. Rob, he's just saying take a breath. A few people asking where did Truss go? He's fallen into some sort of space-time continuum sort of thing. It could have something to do with aliens. You never know.
I think it might be a Chinese submarine there, Trev. I think that might be. I mean, he's Australian, so I think he's done the Howard Hole. He's been taken by a submarine, but I think Sub GT said he's lost connection. That's absolutely pity, but far out. I think Jace will be praising the stars that he's inherited third there.
So, what a race, what a final lap we saw. There was strategy, there was battles, side-by-side action. I've ripped my microphone nearly clean out of my PlayStation, but let's have a look at the final results on your screen. Ichi ni San 1, 2, 3 here in Japan at Sakitto. Formula One rocks, like we said, continuing his perfect record this season, taking victory by 4.5 seconds over everybody's favourite Tasmanian Cart Dude in P2. Then it's Wilco, Wilco for Team Victoria Bitter in P3, Ridey in P4. And Mighty Murph in P5, Nige Guns in P6, then it's V8 Man quietly slotting into P7 as we go down the final results there. Waffles won't be happy with that, Mr. Consistency finishing in P8, P9 for Big Dean McKinnon, Fubbles taking the last point in P10, P11 for Mickey Womp, slotting in to P12 there in the final standings. But what a race! Another absolute humdinger here in this championship. Before we just continue with the proceedings here in the post-race formalities, we'll get through this. Rick Elliott, great to have your company. Adelaide Crows are the best. We know that. He says Truss has gone missing like Winston Abraham. Bit of a footy fan there. And Wilco, very happy. You and Shep can have the day off tomorrow. Feel a little bit sorry for Truss. A few people saying it could have been the Bermuda Triangle. And Jono, 4 from 4. What can you say about that, Rob?
I mean, it's a perfect run, isn't it, Trev? As I said earlier, those Fords seem to be like the better race car during the race. I feel sorry for Truss there. Connection issues are always the one that hampers everybody. But gee, that race was really heating up in the last lap. I'm slightly glad he disconnected, Trev, because I think I might have suffered a pulmonary edema commentating that little last couple of corners there.
Well, I'm no neurosurgeon or doctor at all for that matter, but it was sounding very serious indeed, Rob. We may have needed Wilco back in the commentary box next week if you went down. But like we said, 20 people watching the stream. It's been great to have your company throughout the course of the evening, as we do each and every week here on the SRL live stream, live and exclusive on the Kid Buyers channel. Get amongst it. Don't forget to subscribe. I always like saying that on YouTube. 647. We've had 50 subscribers this week. We're just about to hit the 650. So get amongst it, and then we can start taking donations. No, I'm only joking. Now, Rob, we're going to try and get the top 3 finishers, Jono, Cart Dude, and Wilco, tonight, and we'll try and get to people's questions and a few more comments. So once again, the comments have been going bananas. But wow, what a championship. Not just this race tonight, but what a season we're having. And well, Thursday nights are fastly becoming, well, if they already are, my favourite night of the week.
Yeah, Thursday nights are brilliant to just watch down and watch some good racing. You almost forget sometimes that it's a game that you're watching people race on. Sometimes it's absolutely brilliant. And the on-track action is incredible so far in the first 4 races this year. So we got the top. We're starting. Well, we've got 2 of the top 3 in. Just waiting for old mate. Wait, who finished? Who else is in there? That's pretty piss poor from me.
Can't do, man.
Can't do. Yeah, we're waiting for Cardi. He likes the exposure. But Formula One, geez, that was an intense race. They qualified 10th, finished first. Gee, that car, I can't put it all down to the car, but that car looks really good and race trim. But gee, you're having a perfect run at the moment, Jono.
Yeah, mate. Start with qualifying. It's pretty terrible. I didn't get a clean lap at all. But even if I did, I was nowhere near the pole pace at all. They're crazy fast. And yeah, in the race, it wasn't. It was probably as fast as the other bikes, but no faster at all because I just couldn't catch up at all. I don't know how I got ahead of Brady or Truss. Can you tell me what happened at all?
Well, you came in for that pit stop, I think, lap 12, I think we saw that pit stop, and then Truss came in and lap 19, so I think, because it seemed like you were definitely closing in on Truss, even though there was somebody in between you, so I think it was not Nige Guns and Mighty Murph, but I think you just left that pit stop too late, and I think that's how you got in front of him there.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't think I was gaining, but I must have.
Jono, just kid buys here, mate. First of all, well, it's a familiar thing now, isn't it? Congratulating you on another victory. Let's just recap. Imola first. Long Beach Race 1 first. Long Beach Race 2 first. And here at Sakitto for the 4th race of the season in the 3rd round. You've done it again, mate. This time it was a little bit more difficult, mate. From 10th on the grid. I think you might have already mentioned what happened in qualifying, but made a fantastic effort. Just what's it like coming through the field? And you really earned this one, didn't you?
Yeah, thanks, mate. It was very difficult. When I started practicing the other day for this track, I was like, oh, mate, I'm not going to be top 5 at all. And qualifying, that was the case. But, yeah, no, I got a pretty good start, and I managed to keep out of trouble. Then it's all about not making a mistake, as far as I'm concerned.
That's wise words. Wise words, my man.
That's all I was trying to do and see what happened, to be honest. So, bad luck to the other boys. But...
We got Sub GT commentating on the live stream here, and he asked, Jono, how is your voice so gruff? Do you eat rocks?
Nah, man, I don't eat rocks. I don't eat rocks, man. I just eat plenty of. Like, what's his name? Sub GT.
Yeah.
Oh, I eat this thing. It's on ladies, but I don't know if something.
All right,
any of that
we might leave it there. I tell you what, you might not eat rocks, but anyway, we'll leave that one. So, congratulations, Jono, and all the best for next week. Gee, when you think it just can't get any better, we head to Spa next week. All the best for next week, mate.
Thanks, boys. Catch you later.
Thank you, Jono. Geez, we had to. What a funny night we've had. We've had some strange comments and interesting things happen tonight as we welcome Kart Dude, everyone's favourite Tasmanian, down south. Shouldn't mention that after what we just heard Jono say. But the man from Tasmania is with us, P2 Kart Dude. You've had a week off, mate. Straight back into it and straight back onto the podium. Tell us about your race.
Yeah, that was a tough race, wasn't it? But I think second was the best that I probably should have gotten because of how many mistakes I made. So I kind of feel lucky to get second, considering how much I was spearing off. But
yeah, mate.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I was going to say, well, we saw that car on the first couple of laps, so you got on the curbing, the karting, and it just didn't seem comfortable. Did you just, I think it's that qualifying setup mentality of you're running low fuel and you can trust the car, but when you got full fuel in it, it's just so hard to drive, or is it just a mentality from you just trying to push so hard that you just made some mistakes?
I think it was probably more of the second, and I didn't really anticipate the starting pressures to be so high. When I was practicing, they were a little bit lower, and then after I pitted, which lowered them, the car was much more stable and quick. So maybe something I need to think about for next time. And but that's fine. So
Now, Cart, your second place of the season. You finished second at the opening round in Emily. You missed out last week, but you're feeling pretty good about the championship, mate. Looking long term, we know that you're pretty consistent over the course, or you will be over the course of the 11 rounds. How are you? How's your pace at Spa next week? You're feeling confident for next week's race?
I don't think I've ever raced there in this game, so it'll be interesting. But I mean, the championship's a long way away. What round 3? There's 11 rounds, 12? I can't remember.
11.
11.
We've had Wilco sort out the TV rights deal. Bernie Eccleston style. He wants 20 races, does Wilco, but I'm just going to say no. We've got families, we've got kids, Rob and I. But Cart Dude, I digress. Thanks very much for joining us, mate. All the best. Congratulations tonight, and all the best for next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brody, for providing us with the entertainment tonight. Speaking of our man Wilco, he joins us on the party chat. Now, let me just recap, Wilco, Jace. Before tonight, you finished 5th in the opening round, 6th in the second race last week. Big Alan Shep has given you the day off work tomorrow. In fact, he's declared it a public holiday. Your man, Shep. But fantastic stuff on the podium. Your first podium for the season, mate. You were just quietly going about your business. I think you started P6 on the grid, if I'm not mistaken. Tell us about your race.
Well, first of all, Truss, if you're watching, mate, I feel bad for taking the podium off you because you guys were way faster than me. I was just sort of dawdling in the back there. But, I was quite happy. I drove well. I only had one mistake. I don't know if that was caught on the stream, but when Nige went off, I went off as well. Did a nice 720 at the 130R and somehow didn't hit the wall. But, yeah, that was fun. Early on I made a mistake in turn 1 and so that led Jono past. But he was going to be faster than me anyway, so I sort of just sat behind him and just following him. Pitted with Nige, he had damage, I think, and then just had a lonely race until the last lap when Trust disconnected, and I started cheering but feeling bad at the same time.
Well, you better believe we caught that on stream there, Jason. Your incident there. But I think it was a smart. Well, I mean, when we did the GT3 season, I was driving that BMW. Every time the camera came onto me, I had a spin. So I think that's a little bit of. I think that's a bit of me getting back at you, mate. But I think that was the right decision, probably coming into the pit straight after that spin. But you seem to have a lot of race pace. The qualifying pace wasn't there, but race pace seemed really, really good from you, mate.
Well, qualifying pace wasn't there. It's just that I was the fastest forward, so that was what I was looking for. But yeah, race pace. Once I pitted, I sort of tried to get in the rhythm. I didn't want to push too hard, so I was just doing low 41s, just keeping under control. I think Murph must have had a problem because he would have come out in front of me, but he must have spun or something, which let me and Righty get up. So shout out to Righty as well for P4. So good on him, my teammate there. But yeah, no, it's really pretty boring race, but happy with the result.
Well, thanks, Jace. Geez, it wasn't boring from our perspective, was it? But no, fantastic stuff, mate. Your first podium of the season, and like you said, good points for Team VB. Oh, geez, people are going to be sick of me. People are going to be sick of me doing that. But, mate, good clean race. Well, apart from going kamikaze at the 130R. But all the best, mate. Fantastic stuff. Thanks for joining us. Congratulations, and all the best for next week. We will see you again next week, of course.
Yes. Also, thanks, Sub, for commenting on the stream. Good man.
That's right.
I'll come keep you company.
He's tell you what, he's
next week.
Catch you next week, brother. He's a big fan of Jace and his voice, isn't he? I think he's propositioning Jace, but we might just leave that there. Rick,
no rocks for me.
Rick says, has anyone done a welfare check on Truss? Make sure he hasn't committed Hurry Curry. Well, we're still. I think there's still a search party out for him at the moment. But he's still missing. We'll make sure to check on him. But, geez, how unlucky was Truss, though. Fantastic performance from him. He could have won this race here tonight, but that's racing. To finish first you've got to finish, as they say. And I think we're just about done here, Rob. Big thanks once again to your company tonight. Great job again.
Yeah, no, it was a good race tonight, mate. Gee, those last couple of laps, as we predicted, were going to be pretty spicy, but it's unfortunate that Truss disconnected there because that was looking like a good battle for second. But boy, we move on to Spa next week, which is a very fast track, and I think probably the Fords are going to be very enduro round next week from our man Jace there. Thank you. It's going to be one of those circuits that's probably going to benefit the Ford a little bit more. You needed a stable car around there, so. We expect to see the Fords up there, and hopefully the Blue Oval gets another win, mate.
Yep, we reckon it's going to be interesting. 22 laps, like you said, Wilco, endurance round at the famous Spa-Francorchamps. Don't forget to join us next Thursday, the 6th of December. If you want to get involved, all the w's.supremeracingleague.com, or if you don't want to, if you're happy to just listen to us and watch these streams, the Kid Buyers YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe, 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Daylight Savings Time. It's been great to have your company again for this week. Sayonara. It's bye for now.